And thank you so much for staying with Citizen Weekend. And it's finally the hour. Jeff Koinange is live on my bench on One-on-One. So pretty excited about that, Jeff.
As am I, Lillian, because number one, you have a very comfortable bench.
You like it?
Unlike the one.
I love that it's red.
Red is good.
I love that it's
red. Red is good. And also, you know, you invited me to your show. I'm pleasantly surprised.
And you just picked up the phone and went with the flow and were so nice.
And then when you tweeted earlier today that I was coming, this tweet has gone nuts.
Yeah, it has.
It's gone nuts.
That's how big you are, though. That's
No,
you
have a big following.
I mean, everybody really wants to hear your story. But let's begin, Jeff, with you have a remarkable story from Pan Am as cabin crew to TV. Basically just touring the world, telling the African story, telling untold stories. How did TV happen?
Quite by chance. And by the way, here's something a lot of people don't know. I probably paid for a plane ticket once in my life.
Really?
Probably once.
How is that?
Every other time it was paid for. You know, when I flew for Pan Am, tickets were free around the world.
Yeah.
When I worked in the international networks, tickets were free.
Okay.
And you know, even now when I go and do stuff, you know, facilitation, moderation, I never pay for tickets. I've been so lucky.
Okay, I want to be you.
So, how did TV happen? We're on Pan Am. We're flying as flight attendants in the cabin. We're in Miami, Florida. And the instructors, we're all green, you know, we're literally from Africa going to Miami. And they said, listen, you seem like you speak pretty good English. Why don't you go up and do those announcements on the plane? So I went and I said, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard Pan American, Clipper flight number 089.
That voice.
Yes, it was that moment initially. So then we start flying. And I'm doing the announcements with passengers now, you know, regular flights. And 7 times out of 10, after I made that announcement, you know,
really, the passengers
strangers on the plane.
Applauding the voice.
Applauding the voice. They're saying, who is that? Is that a radio announcement? Who is that guy?
Wow.
Bring him back here. Bring him back. I was 20 years old then, sort of like you now, you know. I was your age.
Yes, sort of like me.
And they would say, listen, kid, go do something with that voice of yours. You have a great talent. One day you will make a lot of money with that voice.
Right.
And I would laugh it off. I'd say, come on, I'm just having fun. This is great. You know, I'm young. Well, you know, I'm loving this. But at the back of my mind, I kept saying, you know what, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right.
So your cabin crew at this time, so while in school, media never crossed your mind?
Never.
That was never your first option?
No, I was good in English composition, you know, writing essays. I was good in history, you know, in basic subjects.
Yeah.
In fact, in the 1984 school annual, St. Mary's School, you have my picture on it, you know, 18 years old then.
Really?
Yeah, and they said, you know, career, you know, whatever, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? I put agricultural economist.
Why?
I don't know. You know what that means?
Yeah.
It's a polite term for saying farmer.
Yeah, so just a big term for saying farmer.
Farmer. I wanted to be a farmer.
So your mom must have been mad.
Well, yes, she wanted me to be a lawyer. She wanted me to be a doctor. She wanted me to be, you know, to have a real job.
Yeah. Okay.
So, you know, first of all, getting a job as a flight attendant, that half killed her.
Yeah.
And then going to become a journalist, that just finished her. Because she says, you know, who makes money as a journalist in Kenya? Who?
Yeah.
Name the journalists of our time in the 50s, I mean, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah.
Who was making money?
So your first debut in media, where was that?
In New York. You know, right after college, I started working in the networks there. So, and you know, every time I would say something, every time I opened my mouth there, I was a foreigner.
Yeah.
I wasn't American enough.
You didn't have the accent?
Not the way the rest, I guess, spoke.
So you got a lot of, please say that again, please say that again.
A lot of slack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, you know, I'm Jeff Koinange. You know, in fact, after a while, even my name started sounding funny. So that when I came back to Kenya and I was on KTN, remember back in 1995? And I got on 9 o'clock news. I said, good evening, I'm Jeff Koinange.
And guys were like, what is this guy on about?
Is this guy Kenyan?
Yeah.
He can't even pronounce his own name? I'm telling you.
But it's because you were used to having to say it that way.
So over there, I wasn't American enough. I come here, I'm too American. I'm wanging all over the place.
Yeah.
President Daniel, Arab Moy, you know, then, 95.
Yeah.
And I had to find a balance.
Yeah.
And that was the most important thing, finding a balance, finding your place, and then telling the story from there.
Okay. So, Jeff, from KTN to CNN, and then back to Kenya.
Yes, yes. It's like 0 to 60 in 6 seconds.
Well, do you feel like you've taken a step back in your career?
Not at all. Honestly, and a lot of people ask me that. They say, you know, how you reached the top of the top.
Yeah.
You were working with the Christian Amanpours, the Nick Robertsons, Wolf Blitz and Larry King. You know, you're working with the big boys and girls. And then you come back here and, you know, K24, you know, nobody could even pronounce that network, you know. You can laugh, Lillian, it's okay.
No, I don't want to laugh.
You know, especially when I started the bench, I used to call people, right, and say, hey, it's Jeff Koinange with K24. And they say, oh, Ionigani?
Yeah.
So, but I was so comfortable with myself because this was a startup operation. And most of the kids I worked with were so young, straight out of J school.
Yeah.
So I had a chance to now mold them.
So you played a mentorship role as well?
Yes, I did. I did. And it was great because I see them. You know, Patrick Igunza, who now works for you guys. A whole bunch of people, you know.
And a lot of them have your style, actually. they actually kind of
I hope they don't take the
like
bad stuff. No.
But you then, again, left K24 and went to work for Arise TV.
Yes.
Do you prefer taking on foreign assignments?
I don't, but... the fact that Arise was African-owned, African-run, and telling the African story, which I've been trying to tell for the last 20 years, I figured, you know what, this could be the platform. This could be the CNN of Africa. And I still do work for them once in a while when I can.
Okay.
Because I believe the vision is right. If we don't start telling our stories, Lillian, those people will keep coming here, parachuting in, telling our stories for us, and leaving. And we wouldn't be able to tell our stories.
So you've had the opportunity of working internationally and locally as well. Is that the ultimate for the Kenyan journalist? Is that where we should all be looking?
No.
Is home best?
I think, look, it depends. If you, for instance, if you want to end up at Al Jazeera, you know, in Doha, working for 8 straight hours, looking at the camera and reading the news, fine. I mean, what's that going to do for growth? Yes, your profile will go up because, you know, a billion people will be watching you every day. But what's that going to do for you, Lillian? In a studio in Doha or London or wherever? And that's where people have to decide. Do you want to be in the field? Do you want to go and dodge bullets in Syria or Burkina Faso or, you know, DRC or, you know, CAR, Central African Republic? Do you want to go and dodge bullets there and be the international correspondent, war correspondent? One has to make a conscious decision.
So you believe in the quote, no story is worth dying for?
Oh, in fact, in my book, that's one of the big lessons. That's one of the big lessons I tell any journalist, any journalism student, anyone who will listen to me. I say 2 things, 2 very important things. One, you're only as good as your last story. Lillian, you could do the most fantastic story seen on the planet. People will be praising you on Twitter, Facebook, everything. 2 days from now, they'll forget, Lillian did what?
Yeah.
Because you didn't follow up or you didn't go and do a better story.
Sure.
First lesson. Second lesson, no story is worth dying for. None whatsoever. I was in Sierra Leone. I saw colleagues dying. I was in Baghdad. I saw, you know, what suicide bombers could do. And, you know, how many journalists had been killed in Baghdad up until then? How many journalists had been killed in Africa? It's not worth dying for. Because, you know, in the Niger Delta, when we were there and people were shooting at us from the boat, they could have killed us.
And I'm glad that you brought up the Niger Delta story, Jeff. Do you have any regrets just looking back, and particularly at the Niger Delta story, which a lot of people would say was the turnaround point for you in your career? Any regrets whatsoever?
Lillian, without fear of contradiction, if I had to do that story again, I would do it the exact same way. I wouldn't change a thing. Because I know, my conscience is clear that I did the research for more than a year to gain access to those creeks. Nobody was allowed into those creeks. Nigerian military, Nigerian journalists, most foreign journalists are not allowed to go into those creeks. I gained their confidence, I gained their approval, I gained their green light, and they took us down there. So, and even though they almost killed us, we ended up doing a story that was incredible.
So what exactly happened with CNN? Why did you have to leave? Did it have anything to do with the Niger Delta story?
It did, because, look, we did that story, and the minute we interviewed those guys and they showed us the hostages they had kidnapped, there was more than 24 Filipino hostages they had kidnapped a month before, and they brought them to this place and they displayed them to us, and nobody had known about this, And when I called Atlanta afterwards and I said, look, we got a great exclusive, blah, 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 it's fantastic, this story is going to blow up. They said, you know what, Jeff, bring it over then, send it. I said, no, let me go to Abuja.
Yes.
Let me get a reaction from the government, because if we don't get both sides, we're going to be in trouble.
Okay.
Flew to Abuja, spent 5 days sitting in my hotel room, making phone calls, trying to get access. 5 days in Abuja. Then Atlanta said, you know what, we've got to go with the story. And you can always say afterwards, we tried to get in touch with the Nigerian government, no one was available, which is what we were doing each time.
Okay.
But then when the Nigerian government, when they saw the story, when this story hit, boom, Manila, the Filipino, the government, they had no clue that those guys had been kidnapped a month earlier. And there was a lot of back and forth. The Nigerian government was caught with egg on their face. And let's face it, and Obasanjo, who's a good friend of mine, by the way, I talk about him in the book, right? He was a good friend of mine, and he really got angry. Okay. He thought I had let him down. Why didn't you come and call me? Well, you have my number. Why didn't you call me? And I said, Mr. President, I was calling you all the time. None of your people would take my calls. Okay. And he says, you know what, we've got to do what we've got to do. So CNN had a big contract with Nigerian government, huge contract. And the Nigerian government kept saying, oh, this guy's stage managed. He made this stuff up. Those are actors. Those are Nollywood actors, and those extras, those are Indian actors they got. Those aren't Filipinos. So the whole thing was so huge, and CNN says, you know what, let's just part company. Let's just go away. Okay.
And here we are now.
Yes. What, 7 years later?
7 years later, and congratulations. Let me move away from that and talk about your book, Through My African Eyes.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
It's
you.
a fantastic read.
You like it, honestly? Honestly,
it's really, really
as
good.
a journalist, for you to say that, I really appreciate it, because, I want it to be not just for every African who can read, but also for my colleagues, my counterparts. Okay. You all can experience what I did.
Why now? Why the book now? A
Now,
lot of people would do it after retirement, perhaps. You know.
Yeah. You know what? Why write a book when you're 60 or you're 70? Why write an autobiography? Why not let people live through your life at this age? And I think there will be a sequel, I hope. There will be a sequel. But I figured it would be so selfish of me if I didn't share what I had experienced in my life so far. It would be very selfish.
How long did it take you to write it?
7 years.
7 years.
It was literally right after I left CNN. And, I hit the ground. I mean, I fell off that horse. I was in the dust. And I said, you know what? What am I going to do?
Were you depressed at that time?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look, if you go from up there and you slam the ground, you're going to be a little depressed. You have a headache. Yeah. So I figured, you know what? How do I get out of this? How am I going to roll over, dust myself off, and get back on that horse? I said, let me start writing. So
when exactly were you writing? You said 7 years. It's taken 7 years. From
when I started.
But up to the completion now, when did you just get those moments when you felt that I need to put pen on paper? I need to get pen on paper.
Yeah. Look, throughout my life, I was very involved in sports in school. So there's photographic evidence and there's written evidence. Pan Am, lots of pictures. I remember my story in Pan Am. That wasn't that long ago. And of course, when I started working, I kept a journal. If I go to Liberia, Monrovia, Liberia, this is the date. I write it down. This is the incident. Charles Taylor, his guys. This incident, that incident, and I would write it down, just jotting notes. Put them away. Put them away. Put them away. And then when it came time to write, I started putting it on paper. And then last year, the best part, the Rockefeller Foundation, and people should find out this. Anyone who wants to write a book, Rockefeller Foundation gives a month's access to a monastery they have in Italy, a place called Bellagio. You go there for 1 month. They pay for your flights, they pay for your food, they pay for your stay. And what you do in that 1 month is up to you. You write a book, you finish a book, you write a thesis, you put your thoughts together, whatever it is, and they select people from around the world. Select people. And they selected, and I went there for a month, and I figured this is the time to complete this book.
Great.
So I did that. Came back.
So you've disclosed very personal and intense matters in the book, particularly the fact that you and your wife tried for 9 years to have a child and eventually managed to through IVF. Why did you feel the need to get that personal?
Because I think there's a lot of, this story is not unique. I don't think it's very unique. There are a lot of, in fact, today I ran into someone at Java in Valley Arcade, and they said, what happened to you and your wife happened to me.
Great.
Can you imagine? So I know across Africa, a lot of couples who have had difficulty having children have gone through this stages, probably very similar to ours. We tried many times, several times, almost gave up, even with IVF. But hopefully I can give hope to people who have never heard of IVF. And they say, hey man, there's a process, and now it's getting much easier and much cheaper, and maybe childless couples out there can go for that. So yeah, it was personal.
Yeah.
But hopefully it can help people.
Right. What's it like being a dad, Jeff? I've seen the photo of your child in the book, and I think he's such a lovely, such a beautiful child.
Thank you, thank you.
What's it like being a dad, and how do you balance the whole demanding career, your life being under constant scrutiny, and, you know, just balancing that and home, you being the dad and the husband?
Sure. Look, I never had a dad, number one. Mine died when I was 2 months old. So I never had a father figure in the house. My mother was our mother figure and father figure. So I figured, you know, what I didn't have, I'm going to give this little fella as much as I can. So yes, despite my busy schedule, and I'm a busy guy, despite being out there in the public light, whenever we go out to dinner, it's our time. It's that family time. Whenever, you know, I get into the gate, get into the house, that public Jeff is out that window. And it's just me. In fact, sometimes when I come back from work, the kid is waiting for me in the door, and I open the door and he says, Jeff Koinange live. You know, and the kid is 6, going on 7. But yeah, you know, just give him love, that's all. Just give him love. Love that, you know, we didn't get from a father.
Right. And you're the product of a very big family name. I mean, you've got a huge family name. So a lot of people are asking right now on social media, are you the product of a privileged upbringing? All of this that you've achieved, does this have something to do with the fact that, of course, you're a Koinange?
It's a very good question and extremely unfair. But yeah, look, buy the book. Buy the book and see for yourself. In fact, maybe that's why I had to write this book, because that's what people say. It's, Gina Kupwa, you know, Gary Kupwa.
Yeah. Actually, somebody's asking, is Uhuru your cousin, the president, your cousin?
Is someone asking? They always ask, huh? They always ask. Why, do we look alike?
Well, I suppose.
No, Lillian, honestly.
Kind of, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it the eyes?
Yeah. Yeah, it must be. It is. But there's a resemblance. There's a resemblance.
I call him my brother from another mother.
Okay. So will we leave it at that, or are we getting deeper into this?
If they read the book, they'll find out. You can't tell them everything, right? Oh, by the way, I brought a book for one of your viewers, huh? I brought a book you give away, Lillian.
Right, so you'll be getting a book, by the way, and Jeff will be telling you just how you can grab that copy. Of course, he'll be telling you where you can get the book as well.
Absolutely.
And how much it's retailing for.
Correct.
But let's also talk about, Jeff, the fact that Thabo Mbeki, former South African president, in your preface in your book, says that the African story has often been told in a lopsided manner, and that a lot of the Western nations would prefer a negative African story to be told, and yet there are wonderful stories to be told about Africa. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Did you find yourself in a position where you had to tell a negative story for it to sell?
Yes, and it still happens, huh? If it bleeds, it leads, that's what they say. And you know, a good colleague of mine who used to work for CNN with me, Charlene Hunter-Gault, she called it the 4 Ds: death, disease, despair, and desperation. Those are the stories that would sell out there, because that is a stereotype. In America, even today, some places in America, they still think we live in trees. They still think we ride giraffes.
Yeah.
That's the stereotypical attitude. And until we change that attitude, because they're not going to do it for us, why should they? Why should they? Until we tell our own stories, it'll always be that way. And yes, Thabo, 100% right. Thabo Mbeki he's the ultimate Pan-Africanist. You know, when he started this whole NAPAD and African Renaissance, it was us, the rebirth of Africa, told by us, for us, to us.
So what's the take home from Through My African Eyes? What do you want people to get out of reading this book?
Number one, look, I hope you all can write your stories. You already want to write your story, Lillian.
I do.
And you're still 20 years old. And I hope people out there will associate, will recognize that growing up in the 60s, 70s, 80s here in Kenya, and they will see Hospital Hill back then. I went to St. Mary's. I was very, privileged to do that, but it was a great school. And others who went to Nairobi School, Patch, Changes, Alliance, Jamhuri, Starehe. People who went to those schools. Why not write about that? The days of Jeffrey Griffin in Starehe. That I'm a product of that. They can say that. Write your own story, because mine is not unique. I was privileged. Yes, I was able to travel to 47 out of 54 African countries. That's a privilege. That's why I'm sharing it. People will never be able to travel that much. Share your story. Your story is unique. I hope they can take that away.
So, who gets to take a book home tonight?
Well, you know, you decide.
You want to have a, like, probably you should send a question out there that people should answer, and if they get it right, then they get a copy of the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the question. Since you brought up my brother from another mother, here's the question. Whether you've read the book or not, Uhuru Kenyatta and myself, what's the relation? Start tweeting at Lillian Mulikanele, at Koinange Jeff, at one-on-one.
Yeah, hashtag
one-on-one. Start tweeting.
Of course, the SMS number is 22422. What's the relation between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Jeff Koinange?
Oh, State House is calling.
So away from your book, Jeff, what do you think of the talent that's been displayed locally, particularly in the media, when you look around upcoming stars? What do you think? Honestly, constructive criticism.
Yes. Look, there's some very, very good talent. I see Hussein Mohammed right here on this set on Mondays. And
on Monday and Tuesday.
Monday and Tuesday. He's good, man.
He's on The Big Question on Tuesdays.
Good kid, you know. And I call him kid because he's much younger than I am. And I can see he's got talent. I didn't know you were this beautiful up close and smart too.
Really?
And young. So you have
to throw in the young.
You're very young. It's good for you. And it's good for you. And you know, it's good to see that the talent pool is so good. Of course, you know, the veteran, you know, this classics, Julie Gishuru, of course, and of course KTN, man. KTN, we've got some stars. Can I say KTN on Citizen?
No, not too much.
Sorry. My bad. No, there's some good people. Mark Masai, you know, people like that. It's talented, but sometimes we become a little lazy. And I said this the other day, I don't know which forum I was in. I said we become a little lazy as journalists in that we don't want to dig deeper into the story. We don't want to piss off those people or those people there. So we kind of give it a gentle twist, and we're content with the bare minimum. If we could just dig a little deeper, because Kenyan journalists on the continent, we rank literally between #1 and #2. You know, we're up there, we're hovering between 1 and 2. If we could just dig deeper, be more aggressive, question government, question authority. Because now you can't get arrested anymore. You can't get arrested if you tell the truth. If you're objective, you can't get arrested. It's in the Constitution.
That's true.
You know?
And that's food for thought. But what's the future of our profession in an era of social media, Jeff, where news is relayed by the second on social media? I don't have to come here and go live and tell people this is what's currently happening somewhere. It's all out there. What's the future of our profession?
It's scary. It's scary because citizen journalism now takes over. You know, that Malaysian Airlines crashed yesterday, you saw that. It was on Twitter even before...
Instantly.
Even before Malaysia Airlines knew.
That's right.
Can you imagine? So it's become scary, but we have to conform to that. We have to catch up in a way, but we'll always be the reliable source, because Twitter, yes, it's unverifiable until a network comes up and says, oh, okay, now we can confirm A, B, C, D, E. But out there in social media, you know, you take it for what it is. Take it for what it is. And you sometimes, you know, they say you live and die by the sword. But if you want verification, then you'll have to rely on real journalism.
Okay. And I'm going back to Jeff as the journalist. You come across as this happy-go-lucky person, but you get the answers to the questions. So do you have an alter ego? What do you do for fun? What side of you don't people know? What do you do away from the TV glare, from the cameras and everything? What does Jeff do for fun?
My alter ego is Jeff Koinange. But you know, a lot of people think that's my voice.
I know, he sounds so much like you.
Doesn't he?
That's Nico Diambo, isn't
Nico Diambo.
Okay.
Oh my.
Wow,
oh
he does a good job.
He does a great job.
And do you like the puppet? Do you like what it looks like?
I love it.
I don't think it looks anything like you.
But you know what? It's 9 times out of 10 people, even strangers, will say, oh yeah, I've seen that guy. I saw that. Yeah, I saw some people not too long ago. They said, you're that puppet guy on that show. So to some people, I am that guy. And the fact that we have those freedoms, those kind of freedoms to make fun at ourselves, why not? You know what I say? It is never that serious.
It's never that serious.
No.
And it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. So I swim a lot.
You swim?
Yeah, every morning I do.
Do you work out? You're in great shape?
Not great, but could be better. But yeah, I do about 1.5 kilometers every morning.
What about the cigars? I've seen a magazine somewhere with you and cigars. Are you like in a cigar club? Do you collect them?
Who told you to ask that question?
I don't know.
Coach?
Really.
Was it Coach you said?
No, this is
it
me.
was Coach, huh?
It wasn't Coach. This is me. This is just out of curiosity.
Yeah. Look, smoking is bad for you, Lillian. So
yeah. So let's leave it at that.
Yeah. It was just I was posing. I was posing.
So what next for Jeff Koinange? You've done it all.
I haven't done it all, Lillian. I haven't done it all.
You've been everywhere. Really, and all expense paid. Okay, not all expense paid, but at least the air ticket for the most part, like you said.
Yes.
So what next for you?
Look, there is something. I really don't know what it is, but I'm glad the book is out now. People can read. People can, hopefully, this is what I want, Lillian. In a perfect world, there's 1 billion people in Africa. 1 billion people. 10% of that is 100 million. 1% of that is 10 million people. If 0.1% of that can buy my book, that means 1 million people on the continent, from Nigeria to DRC to South Africa to Egypt, 1 million people buy this book, and then spread the word. Our people in the diaspora. It is time, our generation, those people working out there, living out there, who have become citizens of other countries, who are ours, hopefully can come back. You can make it out. In fact, it was Coach. I have to quote Coach here, because when I went to Arise, disappeared for 9 months, came back, and Coach says, you know what, Jeff? You should never, ever leave Kenya again. Go burn your passport. Never leave Kenya.
Yeah.
He says, once you get off that stage, people forget about you.
That's true.
People forget about you.
And for those who don't know who Coach is, that's Royal Media Services, M.D. Washira Waruru.
Indeed. Great guy. Great guy.
Great guy.
What a guy.
What a guy.
What a bench.
What a boss.
Oh, my.
So, Jeff, I mean, it's been great. And really, people are writing in, about answer to the question that you just asked right there. So we don't know what the correct answer is. What is the answer? What is your relation with President?
What are they saying? What are some of the answers?
I mean, they're just throwing in random things, really, that I don't really think I should do you the honors of reading out.
Oh, really?
Just give us the answer, and then I'll pick the correct answer right here.
But what if they send an answer after I've given an answer?
Smart guy. You're the comeback king.
You are. Comeback kid. That's what they call Bill Clinton.
They do?
Yeah, during the 1992 presidential election. Quick story, and I'll tell you another one if we have time. Okay, so Bill Clinton was running like 3rd or 4th, right? He was the governor of Arkansas. Nobody had heard of this guy. He was never going to win. He won one primary. I think it was in New Hampshire. Yeah, Manchester, in New Hampshire. Nobody expected him to win. And from there, he started winning primary after primary after primary. They called him the comeback kid.
Wow.
Bill Clinton.
So what other celebrities have you met in the line of duty, Jeff?
Oh.
I know you've rubbed shoulders.
Yeah, look.
Very prominent.
The most famous of all, most famous celebrity I've rubbed shoulders with, Lillian Katrina.
Yay. No, but seriously, though. Seriously.
Oprah was good. Shall I tell you a story about Oprah?
Cool? She
Shall I tell you a story? Let me tell you a story.
Easy to talk to?
Let me tell you a story. So in South Africa, Oprah is opening this, building a school. $50 million. She put 3 billion shillings into a school, her own money, in Soweto. And she's going around the various poor neighborhoods to go interview these kids, these smart, brilliant kids who can't afford it, whose parents have died or parents can't afford school. So they call me, Atlanta calls me and says, go to Soweto, go and interview Oprah. Me, Oprah, I've been watching her for years. Oh, man,
that's kind of how I'm feeling right now.
With me?
Talking to you, yeah.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Lillian Katrina.
Yeah.
So I go, in my mind, I'm going over these thoughts. I say, what do I do when I meet Oprah? What do I say? I'm going to say, hey, Oprah, I'm Jeff Koinange, CNN. I would like to interview. That's what was going through my mind. I was so nervous.
Yeah.
Her convoy pulls up, the hill on Soweto. Pulls up. She gets out the car and she says, hey, Jeff, I watch you all the time.
Wow. Amazing. So you take a step back and you're in shock?
Almost died.
Yeah.
Almost died. Another funny story. Gotta tell you. Do we have time? A little time. Gotta tell you a story.
We'll be winding up soon.
Okay, thank you. When New Orleans, Louisiana, Hurricane Katrina, which I covered with Christiane Amanpour, Nick Robertson, they called us in to cover Hurricane Katrina because it was a huge story. They wanted international correspondent presence. We're the only ones who could, go maneuver through and do the stories. So I'm there. It's day 8, day 9, day 10. We've been reporting every day for CNN, domestic and international. And then I get a call. It's Larry King's producers in Washington, D.C. They say, hey, Jeff, Larry loved the way you were presenting yourself on Wolf Blitz's show. He wants you on the show tonight. can you make it 9 o'clock prime time? You and Larry. Give him an update. I said, Larry? Larry knows me? Larry? I said, no problem. 9 o'clock. Boom. Larry comes up. Good evening. I'm Larry King from Washington, D.C. And he gives a spiel, right?
Yeah.
He said, before we go to our guests, let's get an update from New Orleans, our reporter on the ground. John Koinange. John, what's the latest?
Yeah.
So he says, John Koinange. And I'm thinking to myself, John Koinange.
Yeah.
And it's a split second, because I'm thinking, maybe there's another guy before he comes to me.
Yeah.
And the director in my ear says, go, it's you, Jeff. Go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Larry. Today we did A, B, C, D, boom, boom, boom. Back to you, Larry. Larry said, thanks a lot, John. John Koinange in New Orleans.
So where did that come from?
So afterwards, the producers called me, apologized, and said, oh, sorry,
so
Jeff.
sorry,
Larry forgot your name. He can't pronounce Koinange, then Koinange.
Yeah.
But can you come back tomorrow? Can you do it live tomorrow? I said, he wants me back? He said, yeah, he loves you, man. But I promise you this, Jeff. He'll pronounce your name properly tomorrow.
And going back to your book, Through My African Eyes,
Yeah.
There's a part where you write about your editors and what have you had seen,
Yes.
and saying, Jeff, could you go easy on the facial expressions?
Yes.
Could you not lift your eyebrows? I mean, so that whole Jim Carrey sort of very bold, straight to the eye stare that you give to your guests, and even when you were doing your sign-offs and whatever, that is just you?
It's just me. It's not put on. It just comes up. I mean, the eyebrow, I could move both of them. I could move my ears too, at some point. And other things. No, I'm kidding. But, absolutely. Look, it's not put on. In fact, the other thing that the CNN editors used to tell me, a few times when I went back to Atlanta, every year we used to go for a reevaluation, they say, you know what? Maybe you should have been a used car salesman, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe
no,
journalism.
that's cold.
Maybe journalism is not for you. To my face. Cold. But that's the only way to turn things around and prove them wrong.
Okay, and I have to ask you this: is it harder for you? Was it harder for you as a Kenyan, as an African, to try and make a name for yourself out there? Because a lot of people imagine it's just a walk in the park. Perhaps that you're just lucky, but obviously there's a lot of work and heartache that went into that.
Hard work. Hard work. Because the minute you don't sound like them, or the minute you can't pronounce Mississippi or Massachusetts, if you say Massachusetts, you're not going to get that job. I'm serious.
Yeah.
So as long as you can pronounce and enunciate and, string together two sentences, absolutely. But yes, it is you have to work twice as hard as those people out there to prove yourself. And every day, not just once, every day. When I was working for CNN, there was 42 bureaus on the planet. 42. All of them are fighting to get on that 60-minute schedule. 60-minute, 42 bureaus. Imagine. When I first started, I only got on air probably maybe a dozen times the first year. A dozen times. That's probably once a month.
Okay.
Tough.
So we're out of time, Jeff. I noticed in your book that you didn't at any point make any reference. Okay, I'm only halfway through. Let me just be honest. But you didn't at any point make any reference to God or... So are you religious? Are you a religious person? You say the gods must have been kind. The gods must have really wanted this to go this way. The gods this, the gods this.
It's a brilliant question, Lillian. Brilliant question. Look, I would not have gotten where I am if it wasn't for a supreme being, a higher authority. Honestly. I mean, I'd be crazy to think I did this, by chance. There is a supreme being out there. So, yes, there is God.
Great. Great.
Can I sign your book?
So do we have tweets?
Can I autograph your book?
Yes, you're signing.
You're going to read some tweets as you read some tweets?
Yes.
Can
as we read my tweets, Jeff, actually, no, we need to see this. Jeff is signing.
Yeah, and this one's for your lucky winner.
This is for our lucky winner this evening.
Yeah.
Through My African Eyes. It is actually quite a good
It's available at Textbook Center.
Available at Textbook
All
Center.
their outlets, Kijabe Street, Sarit, TRM. It's available at Bookstop, Yaya Center, second floor. Go see Chand, my man. Chand is a good guy, yeah. And Prestige Bookshop in town, in downtown, by 20th Century, you know that?
Great. Okay, so now you know where to get it.
By the way, it is a great date. For 2,500 soft copy.
Okay, 2,500 soft
copy. 3,000 hard copy.
Hard copy.
By the way, today is an auspicious date. Just FYI.
Why?
Nelson Mandela was born on this day. I'm writing July 18th.
Awesome. And you got to meet him as well. Yeah.
And my son got to meet him.
Great.
Imagine that.
So do we have tweets? Yeah. Okay, there we go. There's Jeff doing me the honors. So excited about that.
Is it Lillian with 2 L's or 1 L?
Double L. Please, thank you for asking that.
Thank you.
I get so upset when people spell it wrong.
1 L, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Double L.
No, when they spell it with 1 L.
Yes, when they spell it with 1 L.
Yeah.
So it's L-I-double-L-I-A-N.
Should I put the whole Muli Kanene thing?
Muli is fine.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Lillian Muli.
Here. So, we have tweets, and let's take a look at those. Okay. So our tweets are obviously on our hashtag #1on1. We're really pressed for time, but it's been great, Jeff. Thank
Lillian,
you
it's
so
been
much.
fantastic.
Thank you
and
so
I'm
much.
writing here, Lillian Muli, thanks for being part of the next generation of Kenya's great journalists. How's that?
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
That means a lot.
Thanks for having me,
Thank you for coming to my couch. Yeah, yours is the bench. Let me not steal that. Let me be original.
What a couch.
What a couch.
Oh my.
Oh my.
What a hostess. With the mostest.
Yeah. It's been real. That is #1on1. Thank you so much for watching. The hashtag is #1on1. Of course, you can continue to tweet Jeff at Koinange Jeff.
Correct.
At Koinange Jeff. Talk to him on Twitter.
And you at Lillian Muli.
And me at Lillian_Muli. Lillian with a double L. Thank you for watching. Let's do this again next week, same time on Friday. Good night.
Good night.